Hello and welcome to Prospect Specialty Fiber Mill. My name's Emily and I'm one of the co-owners. After sheep have been sheared and we've skirted the fleeces for any dirty, poopy, vegetable matter sections, we then wash the fleeces in 180-degree water. We do use special soap made for wool, and then it goes to the drying racks, which in our mill is just used bakery bread racks. After the fibers are cleaned, they are loaded into what's called the hopper. We do run a double hopper system, and our equipment is built in the 1940s. These were once very common brands known in the fiber industry. A lot of them were used for cotton. Our carder system is 35 feet long. We do run a double hopper and a double card. It does take a few minutes to load it. The speed is adjustable for different types of fibers. Some of the finer wools need slower speeds. You can see here some Gotland that had actually already been through the carder once, but we decided to add a little bit more blue-faced Leicester wool to this so that it would have a little better cohesion. So you do see some mix of some darker locks that we're blending in for better, it just helps the fiber hold better together. The conveyor belts bring the wool up and over. Each hopper has two swing arms that you see moving here. They're basically like a system of nails that will fluff and open up the locks from this state where you see, the curly locks kind of still stuck together. But the swing arms will open those locks up, fluff them. If you're blending fibers, it helps mix everything. And then it slowly rolls into the carding system where we have 18 different rollers of different gauges and different speeds. This helps to card the fibers and blend them further. Once the wool makes its way to the end, we do have to comb it off by hand just to get it started. And we always use tools to thread the machines. You never want to stick your hands in any of these machines or into any of the moving parts. They do move at very fast speeds at very high pressures. So you can see we're feeding in the start of this batting. We call this the roving deck. And it comes out the final rollers, and we remove the first kind of thick areas. Sometimes we have to let the big drum make a full rotation before it'll be thin enough to keep traveling to the final step here. So this is a blend of Gotland and blue-faced Leicester. And now you can see that thinner web is more the consistency we're looking for. But any of that thick stuff doesn't necessarily have to go in the trash or be wasted. We can put it right back in the hopper at the beginning and recard it. So we waste very little, as little as possible. So once that thin web is compressed, it is then called sliver. And I usually describe this to people as like a fatter roving. A lot of people will call this roving, but technically it is sliver. So we feed it into the can coiler through the top, of course using tools. There's a series of rollers in there. And it'll come out the bottom of the can coiler in a smooth, compressed, neat swirl. Once the pressure builds up between that bag, you don't have to hand feed it, but this is just to get it started. This keeps the roving very organized. It'll be able to travel through the next step very easily without getting tangled, or some customers will even take the product at this point and take it home and hand spin it. So what you see here is just roving that's come out of the carder and it's getting ready to be pin drafted. So it goes into the pin drafter to help draft it, which means stretch it out, and comb it into alignment. So our pin drafter works on a 3-to-1 ratio. This will bring that strand of fiber 1/3 of its weight out the other end and more combed to alignment. This makes it easier on the spinning machine. You don't have to ask your spinner to do so much work. Static is our #1 enemy in the mill, so we do use a DIY static spray or also just plain rubbing alcohol to help keep the static down. And then it ends in another can coiler, again, just to help keep all those fibers organized and easy to spin. Then we transfer it to smaller barrels, divide it out into the weights that we need or the increments that we need. This is Rambouillet you see here on the spinner, headed out to California. And this is called the singles spinning phase. So we spin 1 strand first, and then once you have the strands that you want, the number of strands, then you reverse your spinner in the opposite direction and ply them together. So this customer was getting 3 strands plied together. So after these singles were completed, we then twisted 3 strands to make the final yarn. And after that, we wind it either onto cones or hanks of yarn for the customer to then either use or resell.